to have Tom representing this district. He mentioned that I served in the legislature with him, and I did. And I actually sat right in front of him my first 2 years in the legislature. He'd give up, and he'd get up and give these speeches, and I used to tell people that he's the John Adams of Minnesota. Just a passionate guy, and principled and pragmatic, and doing all the right things. So an honor to have him in Congress for us up here in the 6th. My primary message is just a heartfelt thank you. Tom alluded to it. Brad knows it, and anybody who's campaigned knows it. I'm telling you, it can get a little lonely out there when it's 94 degrees and humid and you're still plowing through the door knocking list, or you got to sit up until 10 o'clock with your wife and lick all the stamps. Well, you don't have to lick stamps anymore, but you know what I did. And stuff the envelopes and do all this stuff. And what an encouragement when a group of people like this comes out on the afternoon to support them. So thank you very much for coming out and helping. A couple of things. I first met Brad on a Saturday at a convention, and I don't even remember which one. And then I went to another one later in the morning, and I met Brad at that convention too. And then I went to the College Republican convention in the afternoon, and I met Brad there too. And I think I might have called him Matt, but I'm like, who is this guy that I keep running into everywhere, right? And I'm like, this guy's working like crazy, and I know he's working really hard now, and that's what it takes to get over the top. So, Brad, thank you very much for all the hard work. And I agree with Tom. You are going to win this thing, and with the support of the people in this room, that can actually happen. A couple of things that I just want to add before I turn it over to the host to introduce the person you actually came here to hear from. It's an interesting election year. Non-traditional in so many ways. And we're watching a campaign at the national level unfold, and I don't know that anybody really could have predicted. The dynamics of that are very, very different. But I want to give you a little bit of encouraging news, irrespective of what you might think about Donald Trump. You would not believe the energy and the excitement that I have started to pick up on. We have a state fair booth, right? 100,000 people walking, 200,000 people walking through the state fairgrounds every day down there. We have never had more people coming through our Republican booth. Never. It's packed. And they aren't traditional Republicans. And so this notion that, gee, the Republicans, we got to expand our base, we got to reach out and appeal to more people. And the Democrats will rip on us because, you don't represent minorities or young people or women very well. I got to tell you, young people and minorities and women and families and lots of people that would never darken a Republican booth at a fairgrounds are coming in. And you know what? They're not coming in all ticked off. They're actually upbeat. They're optimistic. They're happy. I'm telling you, if you go to the fair, stop by our booth and hang out for 10 minutes. The energy and the excitement in there, people buying the buttons and the T-shirts. We literally ran out of our Trump Pence button inventory on the first day at 3 p.m. So, yeah. So I'm just telling you, it's an odd year, a year you can't predict, and yet here's this energy that's starting to build, I think, and I think we can be encouraged by that. I think that's actually going to help us at the end of the day. Voters on November 8th are going to have two basic choices. Somebody who is an outsider with a proven ability to get things done, who has clearly shown he's not afraid to take on the status quo, or the icon of the Washington liberal establishment. That's the choice. And in an outsider year, I think that favors us, and to the extent that there is a down ballot impact, I think that's going to help Brad. Another guy coming in from the outside, right? Tom alluded to it. Believe it or not, there are state reps on the Democrat side in St. Paul that have been there 42 years. Can you imagine doing this 21 times, Brad? Yeah, don't volunteer for that. So we need an outsider. We need a guy with business experience like that. I think it's the right kind of year for somebody like him to run it. The momentum is behind us. The last thing I'm going to say, this is a little bit political, not inside baseball, but, the Democrats had full control of the House, the Senate, and the governor's office 4 years ago. And they hammered greater Minnesota. Education funding, transportation funding, local government aid. They raised their taxes out in Greater Minnesota to provide tax relief, so R.T. Ryback and Coleman could jump up and down and talk about tax relief in the inner cities. And Greater Minnesota realized that what used to be the Democrat Farmer Labor Party is now just the Democrats. And they have moved so far left that they have left Greater Minnesota aside. And we won a majority in the House in 2014 because the Democrats abandoned Greater Minnesota. We got a chance to win a majority in the Senate for that very same reason. But we don't have lasting majorities in Minnesota if we don't represent everybody. There's no way that we can do this without guys like Brad winning here in the suburbs and then pushing that back into the first-ring suburbs. The Democrats have been very successful at pushing from the urban core out into those first-ring suburbs, and guess what? They got their eye out here in Blaine and Anoka, right? That's next. So we absolutely have to push back in and make sure that we hold these seats and win these seats. So Brad's a great candidate. He'd be an awesome rep for you. I look at it in terms of how do we turn Minnesota red and maybe even keep Minnesota red and have sustainable Republican majorities in Minnesota. And that comes right through this district. And so it is not just important. Brad is a great candidate here, and it's important for him to represent this area. But I'm telling you, for Minnesota, we need guys like Don Memmer and we need guys like Brad Sanford here to hold the line up here. We cannot cede any more territory. I don't mean to make it overly just hardball politics, but that's what it's like when you want to try and gain a sustainable majority in Minnesota. So Brad, it's all on your shoulders. So thank you everybody again for coming, and a special thank you to Brian and Deanna for hosting. And I know you guys want to introduce Brad, so again, thank you so much for everybody for coming. You two especially, come on up and introduce Brad.